I asked you guys a few weeks ago if you could change some stuff about history to have maximum impact on the sport. What are some of the things that you would change? And a lot of folks go to 2007 and they go to different things in 2007. Now, this is where I always love to talk to the college audience. We have a massive, our 18 to 24-year-old demographic is our biggest demographic. So a lot of you are fairly young and you don't remember '07 all that well. Let me tell you, it's worth a Google. It's worth taking a look at. It's worth reading about. Craziness. You're talking about the Renaissance season to end all Renaissance seasons. Every week, just unimaginable chaos. Kansas was a top 5 team. Okay, South Florida was in the mix. Let me tell you how crazy it got. We got to the last weekend of the season, and the projected national championship game was Missouri versus West Virginia. In football. Not in 1938 either. In football, in the year of our Lord 2007, that's how close we came. What if it happened is the shakeup I want to give to history here. How close were we? Well, we needed Pat McAfee to make a few kicks for West Virginia so that they beat Pitt. West Virginia is a 4-touchdown favorite against Pitt. They lose 13-9. The quote from Rich Rodriguez afterwards, it was a nightmare. The whole thing was a nightmare. And pretty much everything afterwards has been a nightmare for Rich Rod. If they win that thing, if Missouri wins the Big 12 championship against Oklahoma, which they lost 38-17, if either one of them wins, we have a different matchup. But if both of them win, we see West Virginia, Missouri in the most undesirable national championship game of all time if you're a network, if you're ABC, I believe, at the time carrying the game. But I'm not worried about that. I don't, that's not my world. So as a fan, that would have been crazy fascinating. We ended up getting LSU Ohio State. You remember that. But walk with me for a second into the abyss. And let's just assume that history played out different. And we got West Virginia versus Missouri for the BCS championship in Glendale, Arizona. The first thing that came to my mind is, what happens to Rich Rodriguez? West Virginia probably would have been favored in that game. They had a squad. Pat White, Steve Slayton. That's back when they had that squad. So if Rich Rodriguez wins a title at West Virginia, does he ever leave? What does it do for the Big East? Because at the time, that's right, kids, they used to play football in the Big East. At the time, they're a Big East team. The Big East is not far from imploding, as it turns out, at that time. But what's the butterfly effect? What's the chaos theory ramification for West Virginia winning a title for the Big East? What would have happened to Les Miles at LSU? That was Les Miles' first national championship. He wins it in '07 with 2 losses. They won the title, not even in an expanded playoff. You got a 2-team playoff. You got the BCS. They just take the top 2 teams. And 2007 was so upside down, out of this world nuts, that there was a 2-loss team that made the championship game and won it, and that was LSU. If Les Miles doesn't have that '07 championship in his back pocket, what happens? Because he lived off that for a long time. What happens? How much sooner, in other words, is he gone? Because Nick Saban was going to take Alabama where Nick Saban always took Alabama, but what would have happened at LSU? I thought about that. I don't really know what the answer is. I thought about that. Here's the thing I thought about the most, though. Think about it from a broadcast network perspective. Think about it from a college football power player's perspective. You love it when you get LSU versus Ohio State for a championship. That was the biggest sigh of relief in the history of this sport. You pay all this money to buy the rights to broadcast that championship game, and they're on the precipice of serving you up West Virginia versus Missouri. All due respect. It is a trash product from a ratings and revenue generating perspective. And then it's like God smiles on you and says, I find you to be in extremely high favor. You don't want Missouri, West Virginia? How about I give you LSU, Ohio State? How about I give you Ohio State versus the SEC? Yes, please. But what if that didn't happen? What if someone had to bite that West Virginia West Virginia, Missouri Bullet, and all of a sudden they're looking around saying, if we had a 14 playoff, it would have been taken care of. If we had a playoff, we would have been able to get LSU and Ohio State in this thing. We were eventually going to get the playoff anyway. As history shows us, we got it in 2014. I'm not so sure we may not have lurched towards that playoff a lot quicker as a sport if they would have been forced to swallow Missouri versus West Virginia. There are so many angles that you could go on that thing. I mean, listen, I didn't even mention, what if Missouri won a title? What would that do for the Big 12? Missouri ended up leaving the Big 12 shortly thereafter. They went to the SEC, where they are right now. I look at the 2007 AP rankings entering bowl games, and it is wild. Hawaii's up there. Missouri's up there. So, yeah, it was a crazy time for us all.
Guys, thanks for watching Late Kick. Make sure and leave a comment. I love interacting with you. But most of all, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's how we keep all of this free.